Greetings. Stephen Williams here for another session of Behind the Veil. For all of you who are listening or tuned in today, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come into your space. And for those of you, if this is your first time, thank you. Please come back and share, go through and look at all of the different topics that we're dealing with as we travel behind the veil. Please, notifications down front, hit the bell so that you can get this and share it with as many people if you find something in here. All right, so today I want to talk about two things and on two different spectrums. And I want to share one when we're talking about current events. And we're dealing with impeachment of Trump. And I also want to talk about Tyler Perry. Now, I know you're going to say, what in the world? What do those two things have in common that you're going to talk about that happens behind the veil? One of them, when we start talking about the impeachment of Trump, one of the challenges that I have is this notion of faith and belief, and how when this all started, I believe that there were some people who felt like he wasn't going to do right. And then there were others who had a belief that he was going to change. And that same spectrum, when we're dealing with Tyler Perry, where I'm sure that there were some who felt like he was going to be one way. And then some people thought, well, maybe he would fall off. In both of those cases, faith is working differently. In the case of Trump, we do this quite often. We see situations in faith and we say, oh, this situation is going to be different. It's going to change. And we never get in tune or never get in touch with the signs. How many of us have allowed things to happen in our life and it has become cyclical? Over and over and over again, you're believing, oh, they're going to do better this time. Oh, it's going to change. Oh, it's going to get better. Oh, it won't happen that way again. And the way that they are trying now in this election year to impeach Trump is some people in the beginning, and I'm not, I thought he showed you who he was when he first got into the office. I had no hopes that he would change. I didn't know I had only prayed that he would get better, but I figured he wouldn't because he was himself. But there are some people who said, well, we're going to wait and see. Well, waiting and see is exactly, in some cases, that has gotten us where we are right now, where we think we're believing something. We're saying, oh, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to be different. It's going to be different next time. Or you dismiss the signs that you're going down the wrong road. That, my friend, is not faith. Faith is work. It's working towards something. It is, biblically, they talk about it is the substance of things hoped for. But that same context says, without faith, it's impossible. It is impossible to believe, and so you can't have it without the faith, but you can't do it without the work. And so some people just believe a situation is going to change. And ultimately, it is not. It requires effort. It requires focus. It requires making sure or seeing if something is not that way. Maybe you need to do something different. And so that ties me into Tyler Perry, who is first African American to have his major studio, a major studio in Atlanta. And I'm thinking, wow, the differences between people who believe a person would change and then the differences in faith who says, I'm going to help this situation change. He said, one of the reasons why he said that he had a studio is that he wasn't welcomed in Hollywood. So think about that in this correlation. If he had just decided, well, maybe one day Hollywood is going to change. Maybe one day Hollywood is going to let me in. Can you think about all of the people who treated Hollywood like a lot of Americans treated Trump? In other words, oh, I think they're going to change. Oh, I believe it's going to change. Or they're going to let me in. Or if they allow one person to get in, but they didn't allow them to do all the things that they wanted to do creatively. Well, Tyler Perry says, yeah, I see the signs, but I'm looking at this and saying, this is not getting better. This is only getting worse. So I've got to change something in faith. I've got to do something by faith. And he goes into a movement. He goes into this necessary thing to say, if I want to do this, I've got to change something. I'm going to lose some friends. I'm going to have some doubters, by the way, and I'm going to have some people who are not going to flow with me. However, I'm going to continue to move forward and do something that satisfies the soul, that satisfies the desire. And I say that to us today, that we need to reflect and go back and look at it. Your situation is not going to change without work. Your situation is not going to change without adversity. Faith, when it is triggered behind the veil, the first thing that happens is you must run into obstacles. If you don't run into obstacles, how are you going to have faith? Faith says you got to push. If you've got a great word and a great vision and a great mindset and an attitude to actually get something done, you don't look at the obstacles. You move forward past the obstacles. You figure out something is happening. I need to change something. I think I referred to it before. And when you have a dip in the road, you have really got to assess where you are. Maybe the dip in the road means you're going the wrong direction. Maybe it is designed to see how much faith you have to climb to the top. It's designed to do this with help. And so faith behind the veil, man, you just can't continue to do things based on your own sight, your eyesight. You'll never get anywhere. You'll never accomplish what you're going to accomplish. And sometimes you have to be reflective of the friends that you're around, because if you were expecting people to change, expecting the situation to change without you changing, then I think you're going to be disappointed and on the wheel and on the cycle and on the circle and always talking about it and always repeating what you're doing. Your verbiage and our words become important. If you're going to look at this thing, you got to put words and then you must put actions. Your words alone are just not going to be enough. You just have to create an action plan and you must execute that plan. Don't sit up and wait. Listen, so when we go back to the faith, if anybody had a hope that Trump was going to be better, listen, the signs have always been there and people have always believed. And I think the differences between myself and people in politics and anywhere else is that some time ago, I stopped with the expectation and I stopped expecting it to be different. I just decided I needed to be different. And that's what you're going to have to look at in certain situations, in certain circumstances as it pertains to your life. It may not change. He may not change. They may not change. The situation may not change. The only person that is responsible for the change is the one that's looking in the mirror. You have to decide that you're going to change and put the expectation on your ability, your giftedness, and roll with it. If you have a vision, if you got a plan, stop judging that against everybody else. Stop expecting everybody else to run and be a part of your circle. Listen, I'm finding out in this business that even people close to you don't believe with you because they continue to do the same thing. And there's nothing wrong with you keeping the faith for them, but don't let your faith for them stop you from pursuing your vision. Don't get stuck. If you get behind this veil, you'll find out that we can't afford to sit up and wait for somebody to change. Most of the times people have to desire to change. And what I've concluded is, as I've been behind this veil, if I could talk to my 22-year-old self, I tell myself, trust the gift that's within you. Trust what God has poured in you. Walk by faith and not by sight. And don't expect, sometimes have faith that people are going to do something different. But as long as they're giving you the same thing, then you have to make a change within yourself, or you're always going to be stuck where you are. You're always going to be making the money that you're making. You're always going to be living like you're living. And I have decided, and I've just talked to myself, and I decided, you know what? Me and God is really enough. And he will place people, as I'm walking, he will place people in situations in my way so that I can become, so that I can do. I don't know if the impeachment is going to happen. 2020 is here for the vote. So by the time they get ready to do that, I don't know if Trump, that is, will be reelected. I do know that as Tyler Perry was moving forward, opportunities presented themselves. I do know that that place just didn't come up. That facility, that former army base, just didn't fall in his lap. He had to envision and see some different things so that he could do some different shows on his term. And this is where we need to go. Because if he was waiting for somebody, i.e. Hollywood, to do that for him, he would never, ever, ever, ever have been where he is right now, with it being the first African-American to own a major studio in Atlanta. And so he had to see it, and he had to move it, and he had to flow with it, and he had to put his resources to it, and he couldn't take no for an answer. And he didn't expect everybody to be on his side. I'm almost certain. I haven't really talked to him, but I'm almost certain everybody was not on his side. And there were some people who was asking, why would you buy this? They couldn't see the whole vision. Just like it's happening in your life sometimes. People can't see the whole vision. So just do it and stop comparing it to anything else. Just simply get it done. And if you're not careful, stop looking for people to be different. They are what they are. They're going to show you their real character is going to be in play. And you have to make a determination as to whether or not you're going to allow them, their situation, or the situation to stop you from becoming. Look, it's not too late. I shared with somebody, as long as you have breath in your body, you have promise. As long as you have activities of your limbs, you can get this thing done. You do not have to sit back and give up on the vision, give up on the dream. It just takes some time management and the redirecting of it. I share this, and I'm closing, dealing with this measure of faith. And what I said was, it's amazing how I can sit home and watch 3 hours of a football game, but can't put an hour and a half into my own development. You watch a lot of shows, but you're sitting back, and that time that you can be putting into your vision and executing a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here, a little bit there, and you can actually break free. All I can see is guy Shawshank Redemption, and how it just a little bit a day was chipping away. You had to chip away at that thing a little bit a day, and then eventually you get an opportunity to break free. I want this to be your season where you're breaking free, not your year, not your moment. No, we need a season of where we're going to be everything that God wants us to be. And so wake your mind up, wake your spirit up. You can do it. You will do it. Speak those things that be not as though they were, and then walk in that. Don't expect people to hand you anything. And if they show you who they are, please, thank you, Maya, believe them, because most people, like Trump, may not change. And if you're sitting there waiting for them to change, you may be disappointed. And so let's be like Tyler Perry. Let's go get it. Let's go walk in it. I didn't know he was doing it. Did you? Some things you got to keep on the low, 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 but you got to keep pressing until you get the accomplishment. We're going to keep on doing this. Hey, until next week, thank you so much for walking with me behind the veil. Just a little thoughts I wish I could have told my 22-year-old self, and I would have been so much further down the road. All right. Until next week. Thank you. Please subscribe, share this with anyone that you know. You walk by faith, not by sight. It's not too late. Don't give up. This is your season, your chance, your moment. it's going to happen for you. All right. I really do believe that because I'm walking in it right now. Until next week. Bye-bye.